Hello and welcome to KennyRoy.com. I'm Kenny Roy. This is the Ask Videomail for the week of March 24th, 2014. Welcome to the site to you new members, and welcome back to the old members. The Ask Videomail is your chance to get your question in character animation or performance answered in a video just like this one, but I need your question if I'm going to answer it right, so please send your questions to webmaster@kennyroy.com. I go through all the questions and I answer the ones that I think will help the most people. There's no such thing as a stupid question, and it is the best way to get the most out of the site. Speaking about getting the most, the Ask Videomail March Madness contest is now in full swing. It took a little while for people to warm up, and now I'm getting a lot of questions. It's really, really cool. If you don't know what that is, this month, and this month only, the person who submits the highest number of Ask Videomail questions will receive a lifetime membership on KennyRoy.com. Lifetime membership. Plus, you still, every single question you send in, get 2 days free added to your subscription here. So it's a win-win for everybody. Everybody's winning. I'm winning because I get awesome video mail questions. You're winning because when I answer the questions, you get a great video, and you also get those 2 days added to your account when you send one in. So win across the board. And the winner, I'm very proud of the people who have turned in a lot of questions. I won't tell you what the total is yet, because I do want everyone to feel like they can still participate. But you do need to have, let's say if you want to compete, you do need to have, let's say, a couple dozen. Let's say that, which is fantastic. I love having this big pile of questions to answer. Things are a little crazy for me. I won't bore you with the details, but just suffice it to say, going through doing a house move, sort of reorganizing things here at the office. It's tax season, and I'm a little stretched thin. But my video mails are a break from the hubbub of running a animation company and the stuff I don't like to do. This is the stuff I do like to do. So thank you for being a part of this and helping me keep it going. So thank you very much. I'm going to have a little bit of water to celebrate. Let's take a look at this week's question. I think you will enjoy. I know you will enjoy. Check it out. Okay, good question. Overall, general question. Sorry about that little formatting formatting error at the bottom. It's supposed to be an apostrophe, and my email changes it. I thought I'd change them all back. Anyway, it's supposed to read that's the only thing that's moving is like an eyelid twitching. If you look, let's address that first idea. First. If you look at I always say Scrat from Ice Age kind of brought that, in vogue. The whole, like, totally still and then, like, the one eyelid twitch when something's about to go wrong. That kind of thing. I think that is kind of a little bit of an exception to the rule, more than something that you should look towards to give you some guidance as to the rules of moving holds. The first part of your question, you're asking if a moving hold, I'm going to simplify the question down just a little bit. You're asking kind of, is a moving hold sort of like subject to style? And the answer is, there is no simple answer. To go all the way back to what a moving hold was in traditional animation, was they wouldn't ever just have the characters be completely still because it looked like they died if you didn't at least redraw the frame. So they would copy the first frame of what would be a moving hold, and there would be a little bit of life in the line of the character. And I'm not saying that that's what a moving hold is. There's still moving holds in 2D animation, traditional animation. But what I'm saying is that there was never, ever, ever any perfect stillness in traditional animation. Only when we started to, get to sort of like the cheaply animated, 12 frames per second, like Hanna-Barbera and like Saturday morning cartoons, did they stop doing that. And they just let the line die. But we have moving holds at a very base level, at a very sort of like fundamental level, so that everything always looks alive. We have moving holds at a little bit of a higher level because it sort of demonstrates the character itself hitting a pose and purposefully sticking that pose. So let me clarify that a little bit. If you have a character that comes to a total complete stop, it looks like they die. I'm talking about CG animation now. So it looks like they die because absolute complete perfect stillness is not natural. It doesn't work. It doesn't happen. At the same time, though, if you have a character come to a quick stop and there's just that little bit of movement on them, then you're putting life back in, but you're also putting in intention. You're making it so that they are intentionally holding a pose and they're holding it very, very, very still. So in a lot of ways, when you do pose-to-pose animation and a character does kind of hit a very, very, very strong moving hold, what ends up being almost as a side effect is that character is so much more invested in that pose and is saying so much more purposefully with that pose than they were before. Okay? Because it takes strength and it takes our muscles flexing and stabilizing and relaxing and contracting and all of this energy to actually like hit and stick a moving hold. So especially if you have someone, get into like a crazy pose and there's a little bit of movement on it, it means I'm alive and I'm holding this. So I'm holding it for an effect. Your character's intention is there. Otherwise, what you want to do is you probably don't want a moving hold for that. So the way I wanted to kind of answer this question about moving holds, it's funny, I almost consider this like an anniversary question. I'm not sure what anniversary it is. 3 years, 7 months, or 3 years, 6 months, 3.5 year anniversary of KennyRoy.com. I don't know. But the very first Videomail I showed you guys a really quick trick for making a quick moving hold, and that was all technical. Now that we've come almost 4 years together, I feel it's my duty to kind of let you in on the fact that a moving hold is not a built-in thing. It's not like doing pose-to-pose animation and thinking automatically that what you do is you hit a pose and then you have a moving hold and then you come out of it and whatever. Thinking that that's all automatic is not the right thinking. That could be a stylistic choice, So to answer the middle part of this question, does it come down to style? Yes, in a lot of ways it does. But in my video mail I did pretty recently, but where I talked about the action is the transition. So you have two poses and you want to like gesture, but the gesture doesn't really lend itself to a moving hold, then do that gesture as the transition between your two poses. Okay? And if your two poses are a little bit more on balance, not as off balance and not as dynamic, that doesn't mean that they're bad. It just might be a little bit more of a natural scene. And the entire shot will be more natural if you do this. So again, to kind of recap that, let's say you want to have somebody like brush somebody off, right? That they're listening to. If you're doing post animation, a lot of times what we immediately think is, you do that action and then that action ends and then you just automatically tag a moving hold onto it. What I'm saying is that you have to think more about what the intention is of the character and how the scene is actually supposed to play out. So one way to do it, excuse me, like I said, I'm a little strung out. The baby's waking up again in the middle of the night. Was slept through for a week and now is waking up again at like 4 or 5. C'est la vie. So you could have them go, and then you're stuck at the end of this gesture, it being your pose, and then you kind of try to figure out how to like turn this into like a little bit of like a slow melt of a moving hold. Well, that's not as strong as like having them listen intently and then deciding that I'm not going to listen to this, and then their full body, head to toe pose is way dismissive of what they just said. And instead of going just like hearing this totally off the wall comment and just doing it, you make the gesture the transition, right? So and then you're right here. I'm more on balance. My head to toe body language is saying more than just a flimsy gesture that turns into like my end pose ever could, right? Because body language, the first thing about body language is the orientation, right? Are you facing them or are you turned away? Turned away is close to the information. It's close to the idea, right? Turned towards them is more open to the idea. Arms folded, closed to the idea. Arms open to the idea. The information can come in, right? But backing all the way up, just orientation of the body. So you can say a lot more with a lot less and simpler if you made that gesture the transition. How you get out of, almost push out of this position into this position and whatever. And then a moving hold doesn't have to be really like almost anything. In fact, you probably wouldn't start concerning yourself with keeping this character alive if they went from here to here. Why? Because once you get him right here, he's comfortable, on balance. You can just have him breathe. You're not thinking to yourself how do I melt this naturally? How do I keep this alive and just have it moving a little bit? You only start going through that thought process when you're starting with things like sort of like weaker gestures that end up turning into your end poses. Okay? So let me go all the way back to the first part of the Ask Videomail question. So we talked a little bit about the eye twitch and how that's more the exception than the rule. The middle part was about style choices, and then the first part was basically asking, I'm not sure if I have to move all of the controllers in a moving hold, right? Or if that's just bad animation. to answer that, you have to take one step a little bit before that. You have to answer for yourself, is this a moment that needs a gesture that tells the story? Or can I do it with body language? Or can I do it with a grander idea that's simpler? Like a more 10,000 foot view? Or do I have to, animate the fingertips, all the way down to the tips of the fingers in this shot? Whatever. If you answer that, or if you even start asking yourself that question from now on when you're working, my bet is that you're going to suddenly figure out, and it's going to hit you like a ton of bricks, like, oh my gosh, I've been kind of just assuming that how I'm going to animate all of my ideas is to do pose to pose, and my end poses are going to sort of be derived from my gestures. and automatically I have to come up with, how does what are you doing? How do I make this into a little bit of a moving hold, not too much. Okay, a little less in the body, a little bit more in the arms, maybe the head. I don't know, that's too much body. All right, too much arms. Finding that middle ground. Okay. Now, if you want, you can go all the way back to the very first Videomail. I think I'm sitting down in the conference room in my old office. It's dark. It's so funny that to think we've been doing it this long. But if you want to, I mean, the method to create quick moving holds is very, very simple. It's the middle mouse trick in Maya. I'm sure it works in other packages too, copying animation, but that was never meant to be your automatic workflow. Okay? So I want you to go back to this animator and to all of you. I want you to go back and really think hard about your performance choices, and if maybe you have been automatically assuming that a gesture sort of turns into a pose, or if you've thumbnailed it out, look at all your thumbnails and see if you've just been assuming, what are you doing, that the gesture needed to be kind of wrapped up or taken care of, by a moving hold at the end. Okay. My advice would be to maybe take a look at a few of your shots and sort of redo them in your head. And it may seem simpler. It may seem a little more pedestrian or less exciting, but here's one thing I've learned kind of about all art is you start out with great Ira Glass said this, but he said this first part, which is you start out with great taste, and then nothing you do actually matches your taste, right? Then I think you get, he was talking about writing, then I think you get technically proficient enough to start doing some good things. You work for a while doing that, and your technical proficiency grows with your understanding of the finer points of the craft. And then there's almost like an uncanny valley. There's a certain point where you start realizing that as much as you could push your technical ability and as much as you could push your crazy choices, that to access the really deeper choices or the more realistic choices, it's going to take you kind of rethinking your approach to your shots. And while what are you thinking is very effective, and I think it's a choice that everyone here could come up with. if one person doesn't know what the other one's thinking, grabbing the head and, doing that, it's effective. No audience would have any problem with it. But thinking to yourself of a way to get it even more natural. So natural that the audience is almost mouthing the words because they know what they're saying even before they say it, because it's so strong in their body language. Those kind of choices take a long time to figure out. And I'm definitely not saying that I know all of them. No way. I'm still learning too. We're all learning. And this was, after all, this was a question about moving holds. I just don't want it to be an automatic choice. I don't want you guys to have any automatic choices. The only thing that is automated is your workflow, is how you do it when you sit down each time. All right? So that was a good question. I know I got off a little bit on a tangent. But I guess the 10-second answer to it is it's not bad animation to only move one part of the body if it's good animation. If you animated it well, that would be your choice. But don't automatically think that pose to pose means doing a gesture, having it come to a stop, and then firing up your moving hold trick and moving on. And then lastly, probably avoid the eye twitch thing. It's a little played out. Okay? Thank you for that question. Guys, get your questions in if you want to be in the March Madness. This is the address to send them to. I'm collecting them all. I'm giving out subscription days. It is crazy. It is madness. That's why it's called March Madness. It's been a great time. Thanks a lot for the question. Please send more. Good luck with your animation. And as always, rock on.